Okay. All right. So anyhow, there are two levels of access into OPS. There's the teacher access and the administrator access. And administrators have access to a lot of tools, whereas teachers basically have access to their own rosters and the requests that they have entered on behalf of their students in their rosters. So I'm going to log in first as a teacher and kind of go in because since all orders start at the teacher point, we'll begin here, and I'll go ahead and show you what the teachers see and place an order and then move on to the admin. Okay, so both admin and teachers will have all their navigation across the top here. So we try to
Oh,
keep.
I'm so sorry. I'm not seeing a screen on mine.
All right. Okay. Well, hold on a second.
I'm not seeing one either on mine.
I'm gonna stop recording here for a minute. We'll come back to this. All right, so the navigation on both admin and teacher tools will be across the top here, and the navigation itself looks identical on both. However, the results when you click on any of these buttons are different for teachers and admins. Teachers will start on the searches when teachers click on the searches tab, they will see searches for students, orders, and vendors. The students that they see will be the students within their roster. The orders will be the orders that they've placed on behalf of those students. And the vendors are all the vendors, BCI, EMR, college course instructor, or college courses, and various whatever your vendors are will be in here under one of these vendor categories. Currently, you have looks like your students came in. I'm not sure if it's all of them or if all of them are correct, but they're the ones that came over from Student Information System. And to look at those, you need to first select status, student status, and we're going to do a little quick search for active students. And we've got one. Can that be? Have your students not come over yet? For some reason, I thought they had, but
I think they have. I'll check with the admissions to make sure.
okay. And whoever is your person who kind of is your main person on your student information system,
Uh-huh.
they would be good to have involved somehow too in all this because they can run exports from school pathways, and the way those exports work is they happen overnight. We have a little cron tab that runs, and they send anything with changes at a certain hour in the wee hours, and then our system looks for that new document, new file, and then updates OPS with those changes. So anytime a student is transferred, drops, or is just enrolled, that updated information comes over and updates OPS.
Yes, and that is Shannon. So I think she was working on that. So I'll double check with her and make sure that those are all
Okay.
being transferred over because I know they were working on that last week.
All right. Okay, so then anyhow, we have one student that we can do some testing with, and in terms of demonstrating today. So anyhow, that's that. All their orders, and this will make more sense when there's something in there to look at. So let's move on to the purchasing tab. And in purchasing, uh, teachers will see this screen here, and this is a place where they select their student, order materials or whatever, and then get those requests into the system. Um, when a vendor clicks on this tab, they're gonna see a whole different screen because there's a whole lot of. I mean, no, sorry, not a vendor. When an admin hits this tab, it will show all the admin tools for purchasing. But anyhow, real quick, I'm going to run through this, and the teacher first has to select a student. In my case, it's pretty easy because I only have one. And and as soon as I select that student, you'll notice that I see their uh, accounting a bit here. I see what they started with, what's pending, and what they have to work with. Currently, the pending order is nothing more than that. Until it's approved, it will not affect their available funds. So anyhow, moving on, the different types of vendors we have here listed. Catalog vendors, you can have one, but there's a little fee to set up a catalog for you. If you want to do that, we can do that. And basically, what a catalog is, it's a bunch of items that are already pre-approved, and something that you work out with a particular vendor, like it might be an Office Depot catalog or a Lakeshore Learning catalog, or something along those lines. And it would be up to you guys once we set that up to update prices and make sure everything's good. But those are all pre-approved items, and when those requests are entered, they come in as approved orders rather than pending, because pending orders need to be approved by admins in case they, contain any religious materials or something that they're not allowed to purchase using student funds. EMR requests. This type will list all of your EMR vendors, so you can select a particular EMR vendor that you want to purchase tangible materials from. VCI, same thing. All your VCIs will be in there for you to purchase services from.
What do EMR and VCI stand for?
Who asked that?
Please.
Okay, VCI is vendor course instructors. EMR is educational material resource.
Okay.
And so anyhow, college courses will have all your colleges, local community colleges and whatnot can be in there. And oftentimes those orders are for, books and whatnot, because that's typically what kids are charged for when they take college classes. There may be some other fees, but anyhow, you can enter all those there. Computer ISP software, you might have various tech vendors that provide those services for you. Oftentimes, software can also be included in EMR orders. But anyhow, that's there. A lot of schools are creative with these two CCs and CIS orders. The last one, activity, is not vendor specific. It's all subject specific. So if it's a field trip to the museum, it might be, science. If it's to a baseball game, it could be something else. But anyhow, activities are anything that's non-vendor specific that does have a fee associated with it, so that those monies can be drawn from the student budgets. Okay, and then let's see. So anyhow, let's go ahead and place an order real quick, and I'm going to do this for Zach, my test student, and he's got $465, so he's got plenty of money to spend on things. And I'll just go with, a brighter child. Usually it's at the top, but you guys don't have A at the beginning of it. So I'm going to select brighter child here, and click the request button, and it opens up the request form. In the request form, you first have to select a category before you can do anything. And so I'll select fine arts, and give it an item number, and let's do a finger painting textbook, and let's say it's $20. And this here area is consumable. Yes, no, and this is a non-consumable. It's a textbook, so being a non-consumable means that it needs to be returned when the student is finished with it. Select another item. We'll stick with arts, and we'll do the finger painting workbook. And it is a consumable since it's all going to be painted up in the end. And we'll do one of those again, and we'll say that cost is $5. Okay, and now you'll notice that we have two items here, 20 and 5, keeping a running total down here. Teachers should always be aware of what they're spending, so they have that. And also you'll notice down here in the lower right corner that $25 appears again. And I'm going to go ahead and proceed to checkout using this little button. And off we go. We have one more opportunity to review this request form and this unconfirmed request. It looks good. If any changes needed to be made, you can make those now. but we're going to go ahead and confirm this. Oh, and also if you make any changes, you first have to click the update order and then hit confirm request, but we're just going to confirm it. And now we will see that we have this order all set. If we want to look at the order details, click on that number and it takes us back to kind of what we were looking at there. Now down here, you're going to notice a shipping charge of $10. That's a default amount that's automatically attached to any order from a vendor that is set to ship. And if it's set to ship, there's a shipping associated with it, and it's this default number. This number does not show up on the purchase order because it says $10, and if it costs $3 to ship, the vendor would be inclined to go ahead and charge you the full 10. So that's not included. Shipping is added at the invoice stage, and to enter the actual shipping cart charges, you can do that at the invoice matching stage, which we will talk about that in a little bit. There's no tax on this, and typically, if we have a tax for your area, there in Placer area, or I guess you, where are you guys? Anyway, whatever your tax rate is should be in there, and you might want to get that to Sam so that will be also included in there, and so make a note to send Sam your tax rate. But
I think we did. We're in Placer, so it was, I believe, it was 725 or 7.5. So I think he has that, but I'll make sure.
Okay, yeah, let's all follow up on that and make sure you get the tax in there. So anyhow,
Right.
that looks all good. So the teacher's happy, and they can go on to add more or less, and place more requests for the rest of their students or whatever they need to do. And also, if there's something special about this, the teacher can send an admin alert. And basically, when I log in as an admin, you will see that I have an alert, and it'll tell me that my attention is needed on this particular order number. Where's the order number? Here it is. So anyhow, you'll see that. Also, there's ability for teachers to add internal notes. So if they wanted to tell the admin something about this particular request, like we got to have this really fast, please, do expedited shipping if you need to, but I'm getting this order in a little bit late, and anything you can do to expedite that would be beneficial, or whatever. And then they enter that, and it appears here. Well, I'll just enter a blah, blah, blah here real quick so you can see. Blah, blah. And add note and close. And now we have here it says admin was alerted from me clicking this admin alert, and then my little communication regarding this order. Please tell your teachers when using this view add PO note here to be careful what they say in there, because that's going to be included on the actual purchase order. Something along the lines of packages have been disappearing from doorsteps in our area. Please deliver around back or under the patio or some kind of thing. Something like that could be helpful so that the vendor knows when shipping to alert the shipper. But if they say something like, this vendor has become such a pain, I'm not sure why we're still working with them, blah, 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 you don't want that to show up on your purchase order. So keep an eye on that, and it has happened in the past where this has been reported. It's like, oh boy, yeah. Train your teachers, please, as well as yourselves. Just be careful when you're communicating back and forth using this thing to not inadvertently click that one. Okay, and anyhow, that's that. And then teachers also have access to these documents. And these are the documents that you had in the system from way back when. I would encourage you to please go through this list and figure out what's relevant and what is not. Anything you want removed or added, send that to Sam, and he will do that for you. and also be sure to send your correspondence to both Sam and myself so that we can, because we kind of cover each other and making sure that things get done. So
Okay.
documents there. Reports. Teachers will see a few reports here that are available, like their student roster report. In my case, it's going to show one student, um, and and these can be also viewed in spreadsheets and whatnot. This export to Excel button kind of works, but you got to know how to do it. And we're not going to go there right now, but anyhow, so those are the reports. Admin reports obviously are going to be a long list of all kinds of different things. So you have access to all of your data within OPS. It's not something that you have to pay additional fees for, like so many other companies do. But anyhow, it's all right there. Online help needs some updates, but if you have some questions, typically those will be answered here in the online help section. Change password is going to be something used from time to time, but do know if we are exporting teacher records, which I don't think we are, from School Pathways for you guys, it would update that. So whatever the passwords are in student information system, if those imports come over, it's going to be the same password. And so if a teacher changes their password here but not there, it may not affect or may not stick because every night it'll overwrite whatever's in the system. All right, and then log off is pretty simple. And I'm going to try that real quick and log back in as an admin. And off I go. Logging back in. Okay, here I was kind of expecting to see an alert because I sent an admin alert here, but it doesn't appear to be. Oh wait, you know what? I logged in as myself as a teacher again. Let me try this again. There we go. That's better. There's my alert. Okay, now that alert that I just sent as a teacher that is associated with this order now shows here that I need to look at this, and I looked at it and I don't see any problem. Not sure why I was alerted, but at least I got the alert. And back to searches. So anyhow, administrators, when they hit the searches tab, they're going to see, searches, but they're a little different. Now, the admin can now search for all students school-wide, and also, you know what? I bet you I was confused. Let me do a search for active students. I bet you a whole bunch show up now. Now that I'm an admin. Yep, there they are. You have 179 students.
Yeah, I thought I saw them earlier
Yeah, I thought I did too.
in there.
But
Yeah.
So anyhow, on this list of students, you'll see the student number. You click on that, and you can get a student record, and that'll show, all these addresses and things. And I'm not sure why you have addresses. I typically don't like having student addresses in, but some schools do ship to families. But yeah, I like the idea of keeping as little sensitive information as the system as possible, because just about any system is hackable, as you've seen. The Pentagon and the DNC, everybody's servers are getting hacked by strangers. So anyhow, sensitive information I just discourage. Keep it all in one place, like in the student information system. And
No.
Yeah, Guy, we do have an option to ship to students. That's what we were doing last year, and I think we're doing that again this year.
Okay.
JC, do you know for sure?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
But is there an option for our teachers to put in there whether to ship to the student or to them? Because there are some things that we need to ship to the teacher.
Okay.
Yes, we did put in an option. I set that up with Sam. Each time you create an order, they're going to be able to ship to student,
Okay.
the school, or the teacher.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm familiar with the option, and I wasn't sure if you had that or not. But yes, in that case, you definitely do need student addresses in here. So anyhow,
Yeah, that's the reason they're in there, just so you know.
okay, very good, very good. So anyhow, on this page, you can see the student address and numbers and various things. We don't need their social security numbers, so let's keep that out. But
Yeah.
you will be able to click this info, account info. And what this does is it opens up a little pane that shows you what the student started with, what they've spent, what's available. And down here in this next section, it shows you what was spent on non-consumables, consumables, and intangibles, in addition to shipping and taxes and everything else that their money was drawn to cover.
I do have a question about that consumable, non-consumable part. If they are not sure and they click the wrong one when they're submitting the order, is there a way to go back to that item and change it to the other after
Yes.
it's arrived?
The administrator can do that, and that is typically something that the purchasing clerk needs to look at all of these things and be sure when they're placing that purchase order, and just making sure that, because that's you have an opportunity to correct teacher errors here at this point. So yes, you can change that. Okay, now these buttons down here are interesting too, in that open orders are anything that is processed and working and happening right now. This particular student has none, obviously. All orders would be everything that's invoice matched and paid, and just the whole record of everything for the year. Student inventory shows any non-consumable item that's in the student's possession, and it shows the status of those things, whether they're returned or whatever. And then we have a printable version and then a student order report, which kind of, it's like the reports, only it shows everything that has been ordered for that student. The student has none, so we see none. And going back
After
to
the,
yes?
oh, sorry. After the POs have already been processed, is there a way for admin to go and see the list of consumable items for the student?
Yes, they will all appear in the student inventory.
Okay, both consumable and non-consumable.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the consumables will not. Consumables are basically, once they're in the student hands, they're done.
Right. I'm just thinking though that if there's, as a teacher, there's sometimes where you think it's consumable, but then it shows up in your hand and you realize that it's not consumable. So at that point, I was wondering if it's too late to switch it back to in the system to non-consumable.
Oh, no, actually, by the time it reaches this, I mean, if the teacher could potentially tell the admin that, but let's jump off that bridge when we come to it, because we are going to be in a spot where we can talk about those things. But just keep note of that, because I'll probably forget, and bring that up again when we're processing orders as an admin, which is coming up shortly here. Okay. So anyhow, from this student list, you also have a teacher number that you can click on, and that will tell you about that teacher and whatnot. And that's just another way to access a teacher record. There's a couple ways to do that, and here you can see teacher's password info and all that sort of thing. Not all administrators will have that permission, but some will, and those will be the people that teachers go to when they can't log in. But anyhow, you can also show everything that's in the teacher's inventory, because items can be transferred from student to teacher and then off to another student if needed. All right, so anyhow, back to searches. You can search for students a lot of different ways, combination searches and various things, and you can modify student here. Down in the teacher section, it's all the same kind of thing. You do a search for active teachers, and it'll pull up your whole list. And here's something I want to talk to you guys about. Currently, you have 61 active teachers in OPS. I don't think you have that many active teachers working for the school. I'm expecting more like 20 or 25, maybe 30. But anyway, I was looking at this list, and if I look through here, I see a lot of people who probably don't need to be in here. Let me click this back this way. Like, for instance, I see Janelle Pena, who was director at Core Butte up until a few years ago, or last year when she retired. Chris Maharan, director at Core, what is that now? Yuba. Sarah Donnelly, retired librarian, Core Butte. Pat Morton, Core Yuba. Gene Plunkett. Anyway, there's a lot of teachers in here that you might want to go in and activate. And in fact, I'm going to Jonelle Pena is not your director, right?
Right.
She's gone. So I'm going to use her for an example and click on her, and you'll see all of her stuff here. She has password access. And so she's still able to log into your system if she so desired. And you probably don't want that. Not that Jonelle would ever do anything, but any teacher who's not with you anymore should probably be made inactive. And so I'm making Jonelle inactive, and I'm saying I do want to do that. And then down at the bottom, I submit. And no. Okay, so, oh, now it wants a password. That's another thing too. We changed the password to um, eight characters. So if it's in less than 8 characters, it this is obviously an old password, an old account. So I'm going to change your password real quick. And then we'll try to submit again. Okay, so now she's no longer active. And if we return to that list that we were in and update it, she won't be there. So anyhow, go through this list and inactivate anybody who shouldn't be there. And before any orders are placed, we can remove all inactive teachers. If there's any orders associated with them, then it's a little bit tougher for us to remove them because it creates orphan data. Things that are connected to something that suddenly disappears, it kind of breaks them. So that's why we don't typically remove or delete anything. We just inactivate. All right. And
Okay.
so, and that's the teacher thing. And so to go through and do that, you can go through this list and find anybody in there it's not supposed to be, and you can select them. Like I'll find somebody here, Tracy. Tracy works for another school, so we can select her and change her password. Wait, forgot how many times I clicked that. And then make her inactive. Okay. And then submit. So anyhow, go through that list and inactivate all the teachers who should not be there.
Okay. When we were going to that list, the password, do you pick any series of 8 numbers and just keep it the same, and then do you select them?
Yeah, what I did is I just hit 9 8 times, and then
Okay. So it could be anything.
and then verified that same 8 9s, and that worked fine.
Okay. And will my login allow me to do that now?
We'll check that. In fact,
Okay.
in just a minute. In fact, let's look at that right now. I'll select you, and tell me quickly. I'm sorry, your last name.
That's okay. Treinen, Treinen.
I see you. Okay, now do you know which one's your admin and which one's your teacher? It looks like you have 2 identities here.
I don't know which one is. I haven't looked at my identity.
Well, let's pick that one for starters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is probably your admin, and yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah, because I do have an 8-digit password.
Okay, well that's good. Yeah, that helps. Okay, so any changes I make, I won't have to ask you your password. So anyhow, apparently you are set. All your permissions are set to yes.
Okay.
And you'll see here what all those permissions are: ability to purchase, ability to edit catalog, do manual adjustments, update orders, process pending, create purchase orders, add notes to orders, view all alerts, ability to add students, add teachers, modify teachers, vendors, view everyone's passwords, approve funding requests, and reset orders. So yeah, you're all good. And basically what you have there is equal to a super user, what we call a super user. And that's all things set to yes. So if I submit that, it's telling me something I didn't do right. a hire date is not in the correct format. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
And now what happens here is these this data that you sent on your sheet, on your original sheet that you sent to Sam to update everybody. Where is hire date? Oh, hire date. What is your hire date? Can we just make something up, or do you want to add
Yeah, just
a date?
8/26 is fine. 8/26, 2016.
Okay, and note that.
Oh, 2016 probably be more accurate.
Okay, so always note that these formats here, if you don't enter these things in the correct format, it kicks it back at you, and it's very frustrating. Then you have to go back and re-enter your password and everything. So
Okay.
let's see if we got everything here. Yep, we do. And so there you are, and your password will appear, and yeah, you'll be good.
Okay.
So moving on to vendors, same thing. You can look for all your active vendors. You can modify a vendor. You can add a vendor, providing your permissions allow you to do so. And that's that. And any more questions on searches?
Nope.
No, I think it's good.
Okay, well, let's push the fun button. This is where most of your tools will exist, is in purchasing. So as an administrator, the top section allows you to search for orders. And you can search for them a number of different ways. You can search for them by order status. And it shows all the order statuses. And I don't know if we covered all the order statuses, but we will shortly. But real quickly, they are pending, approved, processed, received, invoice matched, and paid. And then a few others that kind of fall in between those categories. You can also search by order type. We did cover the order types, activity, batch and bulk were the two that we did not cover, but catalog, CC, CINC, MRVCI we did. Batch and bulk. Bulk orders are if you have several teachers ordering for several students from one vendor, you can take all those purchase orders and combine them into one, bulk them into one PO so that the PO goes out with all these items and the vendor doesn't have to do multiple POs. And however, they can come in separate shipments. And if you bulk, you can't ship out individual shipments. So you probably aren't going to be using that very much at all, especially if you're going to be shipping to families and teachers and everybody. So you consider yourself a non-bulking school, so you can ignore that one. Batching, however, you can still batch payments. So if you have 10 students, mainly working with the VCI, and you want to put that payment all in one check, you can batch up all those things and, have a total for everybody for that particular month and batch pay. Okay, but anyhow, we'll keep moving on here. You can also search for orders by vendor. If you're looking for all orders for a specific vendor, you can do that. For a month, VCIs are all by the month. So if you want to look for all the orders for September, you can do so. And that'll help you too when you get into it. When you have everybody ordering a lot of stuff and you just want to process this month's, this coming month's orders, you can select VCI order type and August, and then process all the August, VCI POs. So same with you can select by teacher, and then you can do combination searches, and there's just a number of different ways you can find orders, and some of those you'll use a lot, and some you may never, but you have the options there. Admin alerts. You can view all admin alerts, and we had one which wasn't really alert. It was just me playing with buttons. And then down in student accounting updates. Oh, and before I move on, any questions about order searches?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
And admin alerts, that was pretty simple. Student accounting. Oftentimes we have a drop in the beginning of the year and then another, around December. And apparently you have one happening on November 27th. This button here will update everybody. However, this button only works a week before and a week after this date here. So as this date is approaching, this button will activate, and it can only be pressed once. So you don't have to worry about multiple admins pressing the button and then everybody, being overfunded. So as that time approaches, if you pass it, the button no longer works, and then they'll have to say, "Sam, we didn't get funded. Can you put that back up for us real quick so we can click it?" And he'll do that. But just keep an eye on it, and as that date comes closer, give your students their money, and you'll be happy. Manual E adjustments are where you can adjust anybody's funds. You can give them a positive or a negative adjustment. Where is my test person? There he is. I'll select him, click adjust, and what it's going to do is it's going to show me everything. And this student never got funded because it's a test student. Apparently, I gave it a $500 manual adjustment a while back, right after we set you guys up. And I can do a positive or negative. So if I want it to be less, I do a negative, and I'll just give him a quick 100. And whenever you do any kind of manual adjustment, you always want to add a note explaining why, so that anybody coming up behind you will understand what you did there. And keep it clean and be thorough and explain why these things are happening. I'm not going to right now, but I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And as I submit, immediately now, Guy Stokely on this date did a manual adjustment of $100 for this student. And that way you'll know who did it if there is no explanation. Had I added a note, that note would appear down here too, providing explanation. But even if they don't, at least you know who did it. So you can go to them and say, "Hey, do you remember back on such and such date giving this student money? Who approved that and why is this? Because I see no other record." But so anyhow, this tracks all that and is a good thing. So back to here. I think that covers everything here. So anyhow, you can modify, add, and if ever you have any new admins to add, they do not come over on exports from student information systems ever. So you have to manually enter those into the system. And so anyhow, vendors is basically the same thing. I don't know what more I need to say about that because it's basically the same kind of tools for each of the three: students, teachers, and vendors. And that was searches. So anyhow, back to purchasing. We did that manual adjustment. You can do manual adjustments for multiple students. So if you have a group of kids that are all needing funds, this list here will give you the entire school. So you just check the ones you want to give an adjustment to, and you can do it all up in one fell swoop. And then there is budget transfer. Oftentimes there's a area, and I forgot to look at that, where teachers can request budget transfers for oftentimes that's needed for families, little brothers in second grade, big brothers in ninth grade or 10th grade, and needs to spend some of little brother's money. So you can take from one and give to another, specify the amount, and the EUs will automatically transfer. One will get a deduction, the other will get an addition, and those will always show up in the student accounting as well. All right. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So next, purchasing. What this little line does is allows the admin to purchase on behalf of a teacher. Oftentimes teachers are away for whatever reason and somebody is covering them. And this is the place where an administrator can select any teacher in the system and place a request for them. Now, I'm going to do that real quick here. I'm going to do another request since we're on this. And if it seems like I'm jumping around a little bit, I'm sorry, but you probably should get used to it because you're probably going to be doing the same thing. Now you'll see that my student has a different amount of money because of that adjustment that I made. I'm going to select a vendor from the BCI bunch, and we will call, let's see, who should we get here? Artist Workshop. Since our, whoops. Oh, I'm so sorry. Wait a minute. Something is funny happening with, oh, I don't know why that did that a minute ago, but anyhow, we're good. Um, so anyhow, you'll notice that EMR form that the teacher filled out looked a little different than this. This vendor course instructor form is uh, basically only for course for instruction, basically. So I'd say finger painting lessons. So this finger painting tutorial, let's say it goes from August through September, and each month is $20. So you'll see that $40 total there and there, and then we just add that to request, and I'm happy with it. See the $40 down here again. Now what happens here is different than with the EMR. When a VCI request is made for multiple months, it creates a purchase order for each month. So, and the reason being, if they're signing up for 6 months of instruction, and the student drops after the first or second month, those other months that have already been paid for now have to be returned. And so rather than going back and forth with the vendor trying to recover monies that are actually yours, this kind of helps to avoid that. Some vendors have complained because they want it all at once, but as the customer, you can just simply tell them that that's not how we operate, and and for good reason, and uh, and blah blah blah. So anyway, I'm going to confirm this request, and you'll note.
That's
Yes.
that's where you say, like, you would say you would bring up August and then you would just process all the ones for August and each month. If we do have like an online vendor where it's broken down over the months, you just go to that vendor and process all of them, because there are some that require full payment upfront.
Yeah, there will be ways to do it, and you'll see you can be creative as you need to, because you can be somewhat flexible with the app and how you work with different scenarios. But yeah, you should be fine using it this way, and even with those online vendors.
Mhm.
And also, if you have several students that are taking the same course, you can duplicate this order by clicking the duplicate order button, and then select any student that you want to duplicate that for. I'm not going to, because I only have one test student and I don't want to mess with anyone else's budgets. But anyhow, you can do that as many times as you need, and confirm that. I'm not going to, because I don't want to do that. So anyhow, those are in there, and we will process some orders at some point, and we'll come back to that order. It's now in there. Okay, multiple order processing. You can do multiple VCI orders. Um, Select your vendor and teacher. There's a few different things, and then update the order. Um, yeah, that's going to be pretty self-explanatory too once you get into it. Pending VCIs at a glance. What that does is it shows you all your vendor course instruction requests at a glance, and you'll be able to click those, and you can sort them by month or whatever if you want to, and VCIs at a glance is very helpful. You'll find that helpful as you need it anyway. Um, and then I don't know if I need to go into these. These are going to be pretty self-explanatory. Me talking about them might be more confusing than anything, but we can cross that bridge when we get to it later. We'll be around to help you guys through for a while here, and some of these other things I don't need to go into, but common internal notes you're probably going to enjoy, because you're telling teachers the same thing over and over and over. And so rather than typing out the same message, if it's one of those things that you find yourself repeating, enter it here, type it once, and there will be a little dialogue area that I'll show you again if you get there, where you can enter your common notes. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back up here and act like a purchasing clerk for a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to look for all pending orders and hit search. And what that's going to show me is the orders, the two orders that we added once while logged in as a teacher, another while logged in as an admin ordering on behalf of the teacher. And then in addition to one here that I put in earlier. So as a purchasing clerk, you might start with this August VCI, and it looks good to go. So you change that to processed, and upon updating this order, that processed order is now going to give you the option to create a PO. And you can create it, as you were saying, Molly, you can create a PO to ship to teacher, student, or to your resource center, or it'll be a pickup type thing. So, and a student pickup probably goes to your resource center too. I'm not sure if you gave Sam two different addresses for these two things, but most likely those two are the same. And then you have, so let's say we are going to ship to teacher, since my student probably has no shipping, and it looks like my teacher doesn't either. So we'll skip that and we'll ship to center. There. Wait a minute. Do you have your address for the center in?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because it doesn't appear that your shipping address at the center is. Your build to definitely showed up, and that's Delta Managed Solutions. So anyhow, this is what your PO looks like, and this is what will be sent to vendor. You also have the option to email, in the same configurations, and what you get here is the reply to address on the email PO will be the email of the person who is logged in. The email will be sent to the email address associated on that vendor record. And then any additional addresses that this goes to, like a teacher or whomever, this doesn't need to be in there. That's an old email address of mine. But anyhow, you can add as many emails as you want in here. So if you want the teacher, the parent, someone else to be included on this, you can. But anyhow, or you could leave it completely blank. It's your call. And then I returned a list. As I returned a list, I'm searched initially for pending orders. So since I updated that to process, it's no longer here. Let's take this first EMR, do the same thing. Note that as I change the order status, the item statuses change. If I only change one of them, it will remain at pending, and because there's still an order pending. So I'm going to go ahead and you can use the approve. Some schools have another admin who approves but does not order. And then some schools have their purchasing clerk do the approvals. And so they skip right to process and get the order to vendor. Now, whenever you do advance an order to process, make it a point that at this point you get that purchase order to that vendor right now. And that way you know that whenever any order is marked as processed, it has indeed been processed, and the vendor is now working on fulfilling that request. And because some people have asked us, we hit process, could we have another button that says that it's been ordered? And we say, no, actually that's what process means. It means it's been ordered. Don't change it to process unless you're ordering it. And so just know to have it in your internal or your internal working system. What's am I looking for? Anyhow, just know that that's what you do. Whenever you mark a process, you get it off to vendor right then and there, and then you know that it is indeed being worked on. And the next phase will be for the teacher to come in and, oops, let me hit the button. And the teacher will need to come in and receive those requests once the items land. Or if they go to the student, they need to confirm that they did indeed deliver, and And that's the only problem with having them ship the student is teacher still needs to make sure that those did indeed arrive. Okay, and now we talked about the shipping costs and tax, so you see those in there. The only way that a student will ever go over budget is when you are doing invoice matching, and I'll show you that here in a minute. For now, let me just update these guys to process, and we will ship center. All good, love it, looks good. Print that out, and you also notice that you have a little bit different looking thing here because you have a VCI and EMR type request. Anyhow, that's that. Let me see, where do I go from here? I'm going to go back to purchasing. And now I'm going to pretend that I'm a teacher and receive these things. Now that you've requested them, the orders have delivered. Oh, you know what? I can't receive these because they didn't come to me, I don't think. But what am I doing here? Let's do this. Oh, sorry. In the wrong place. I'm still logged in as an admin. Well, I can do this. Okay, I can still, as an admin, you can still receive items. So if I go through and look for processed items, here they are. Teachers are supposed to receive the items and make sure that the students have them because typically if the administrator gets the invoice, teacher gets the items, the administrator is not able to confirm that those items did indeed deliver. So that's why it's up to the teacher to mark these as received. And so I'm going to change that to received full. And teachers can be given an alert saying that, hey, you know, this thing has been processed for a long time. You haven't marked received. You can click alert and send them, please, if this order has indeed been received, please confirm that so that I can match this invoice and pay the vendor. Because if you make the vendor wait too long, it's not good. It's bad for your credit, and you don't want that. So anyway, orders marked received full, updated, and return to list. And let's go ahead and continue that. Looks good. Receive it all, pretending that I'm the teacher and I know that it's all been received. Update it, return to list, and that one I'm going to pass on for now. So now, as a admin, you can do a search for all received full orders. Open that up, look at your invoice. You see the invoice is like so, and actually the vendor charged $22 for that textbook, and the shipping was only $4.50. And so you can update that order now, and it shows that you know, everything is what it should be. And also you can also input the invoice number and update that, and that invoice number will now always, this is the vendor's invoice number, will always be associated with that, so that if you need to search for this order by invoice, say that invoice comes back and says that you didn't pay the right amount or whatever, you can pull this up and figure out why that might have been. And also note down here at the bottom that it's keeping track of what I've been doing here, and that'll be helpful to you down the line too when you're trying to do some sleuth work. All right, so now that this is marked, oh boy, now that I've made those changes to it and match the invoice, I want to change this to invoice matched and update the order. And now, as I return to list, that is gone. I can do the same thing with the other one. Everything looks good here. I'll leave it as is. Now also notice here I have a little something that I forgot to mention. This little N, this little note section. But this is, it gives you information about that piece of inventory. And it shows that that has been sent to the student and is ordered by this teacher and has not been transferred to anyone. So this would tell you who it's been transferred to, and it just will keep a record of that item all year long. And if that gets passed around to 3 different people, it'll show that here, and just keeping track of inventory. All right. And let's see what else. Any questions on that so far?
Nope.
No.
Okay, and that was just order processing. So once everything is invoice matched, it can now be paid. And once it's marked updated to paid, oh, I have to go back and find it. Now, if we look for paid orders, once they're updated to paid, you can't do anything with them. Everything is locked in. You'll see here that these are no longer modifiable, and this is your archive of those items ordered. All right. Any questions on this section at all?
Nope.
Nope. No.
I did mention that I was going to tell you about a note thing. So here's all our orders. I'm going to get into this receive full EMR. What was it I was going to tell you? Internal notes. Okay, if you had a bunch of common internal notes, they would be listed in a window right here. And currently you have none. But if you did, you would just basically select that note, hit this little arrow thing, and it'll populate this box with that note, and just add the note, and then there you go. So common internal notes will save you some time from typing the same thing over and over. And let's see. So that's kind of it for the purchasing tab. We've covered all these things. There are the bulk console isn't going to matter because you're a non-bulking school. Same with the catalog items because you don't have a catalog in place. If you want to do that, contact us later. We'll set that up and we'll cover that area. And for now, we'll move on unless there's any questions.
No.
No.
Okay, well then we'll look at documents. And as mentioned before, here are all your documents. You got a lot of them. Please go through those and figure out what you need, what you don't, and send us a list of what needs to be removed. And if you have anything that needs to be added, send those along as well, and we'll put those in. Okay.
Okay.
Reports. As I mentioned earlier, you saw the teachers had a little small list of reports. As an admin, you have a ton here. And so just about any data you need access to should be available because these are all come about by requests from various users saying, oh, can we have a report that shows this, 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 and that? And so basically, I think we have just about everything covered. Every bit of data that's collected is available to you in one form or another here. Okay? And I won't go through all those, but in your copious amounts of leisure time, you can peruse that on your own. Online help, same thing as I mentioned with the teachers. It does require some updates, but it's still, most things are pretty relevant here. Change password, same kind of deal as we talked about with teachers. And log out will simply log you out. Any questions?
I don't think so. Not on my end.
Okay.
That all
I do
sounds
have
good.
I have one for product orders. How many items can they get on one purchase order?
Good question. Allow me to demonstrate that. Come on. Okay, I'm going to purchase on behalf of my teacher. I pick the right one. Yeah. Okay, selecting student, selecting an EMR vendor with Academic Press, and request. Back up. Okay, see here, number of items. We have a default number of 10 in there, and you can change that to whatever you want. 22, and what that will do is change the number of lines available on this request form. So they can do as many as they want. If it says 10 or 22 even, and they only enter one, that won't be a problem. So you don't need to use all of these lines, but if you need them, you have them, and you can add to it simply by playing with this number here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
You said you were going to come back to the consumable, non-consumable issue. You can switch them back.
Okay. Now, what was the question on that? Was how can you switch them? Let's go find out.
If it was incorrectly checked and then after it's been processed, we find it's not what it was checked as.
Okay, well, let's see here because I think we have that here. Yes. Okay. So here's one that is at received full. And let's see. Yes, I can change those right here.
Okay, so up until it's paid for. So like if they could let us know when they receive it before we pay for it, and then we could still update it.
Yes. So now that I have changed both of these to consumable, non-consumable, they're not marked as consumables. We can update this order, and let's take a look at Zach and look at his inventory, and we will now see that this let me see, there's a finger painting workbook that was a consumable, is now a non-consumable, and now it's in his possession. So all the masterpieces that he now has in this workbook are yours to be returned to the school, and you can sell them because he's probably going to turn out to be some really famous artist. So anyway, yes. So I wasn't sure of the answer to that question, and now I am too. So thank you for that.
Cool. Thanks.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop recording now, and we can continue to talk a little bit and discuss anything else that you might wonder.